everybody. Tap the screen, tap, tap, tap. Send lots of likes. The more likes means the more people, means the more ghost stories. And that's what we want to hear tonight. We want to hear your spookiest spooky story. The one that scared you the most, the one that you think about at bedtime every night. So we have a subscription. If anybody wants to subscribe, it's a good way to support the channel. So if you like what we do here, great way to be part of our community, throw some support our way. Also be sure to follow Chris if you're into horror stuff. And of course you are, because why would you be here if you weren't into horror stories and horror things and all things spooky and scary? I think somebody popped in already. No? Okay, they're gone.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to see who it was. But yeah, so the Discord, if you subscribe to the channel, you get instant access to the Discord. And we do all kinds of fun stuff over there. We do like little mini streams where we kind of just, few of us get together and we tell spooky stories. We talk, we hang out, we post memes. We have the dankest memes. Everybody says our memes are the best memes. We also have spaces for people to share paranormal stories. So if you're someone who loves the channel and you have good stories, but you don't have the followers to go live, that's a great place to share your stories. What else do we do over there, Chris? Not the crazy stuff. We don't want to tell them about that. They can find out the hard way about that.
Yeah, well, that's only on Tuesdays.
Yeah, Tuesdays get pretty wild on the Discord.
Yeah, we can't talk about it here.
Yeah, it's top secret. But yeah, if you subscribe, you get the emotes, you get immediate access to the Discord. We're also going to do some tarot readings over there, which I'm really looking forward to. I keep saying that, but I don't know if anybody's really interested in it. So if you are interested in like a free tarot reading and you want to join the Discord, just let me know and I will give it a try. We'll see what happens. But yeah, lots of fun. We do video chats, very cool stuff.
Yeah.
All right, guys, the guest box is open. If anybody wants to hop in, looks like we do have a person hopping in. All right, let's see what is up with Aquatic.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I wanted to tell this one story.
Thank you.
Thinking about it now, it honestly gives me goosebumps. But so a few years ago, this actually happened twice. I live in Kentucky, Middle Tennessee area, which I don't know if you, I've seen your previous videos on here a lot, actually. I've followed you since like I've had TikTok, but there's a lot of weird stuff that goes on, especially at night in the South. And so a few years ago, I was coming home one night, getting picked up, and went past this like kind of bridge that was like a tri-intersection area. And my mom had told me that she heard someone yell for help underneath the bridge when she had first crossed it to pick me up. And I kind of just brushed it off like, okay, maybe. I mean, who knows? Well, we were approaching that bridge and she's like, be quiet for a second. Be quiet. And I was like, okay. And we passed over it, and sure enough, there was someone yelling help underneath. And we ended up calling the police, and they said they went there and there was nothing to be found. There was no one there. Like, no evidence of anyone being under the bridge. In fact, the bridge was actually incredibly hard to access underneath at all. So, pretty scary stuff. And then it wasn't a couple months later, I was driving again, similar area, and I seen this was like a really, really back road, gravel. I mean, no one for miles. And I see what looks like to be lightning striking the same place in the road repeatedly. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. It's a warm summer night. Well, when I got closer, it was a guy. And his eyes were as big as round as saucer pans, man. And it just didn't seem right. And he tapped the front of my car and was like, stop, stop. And I was like, no, I'm not stopping. And as soon as he yelled help, I recognized it from that same guy from the bridge a few months ago. Like it was it was the same voice. So I'm not sure if possibly I know I'm going to sound crazy to a lot of people, but I think I'm in the right kind of crowd here. Could I be being followed?
Are you being followed? I don't know.
Paranormal because man, I'm telling you, I'm getting goosebumps because it is the freakiest thing that I've ever experienced in my entire life. I mean, I know I'm only 27, but it was scary. It was scary.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds really spooky. Holy cow. Somebody in the comments said moon-eyed people. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
That's actually a pretty interesting theory. I might have to do a video on the moon-eyed people. It's probably a lot for me to try to Google right now, but you can definitely look that up. It's kind of an Appalachian thing too, so that would make a little sense, you know?
What's weird about it is when we were crossing over that bridge, there was a car coming the other way, and they didn't seem like they heard it because they kept going. It's weird, and I don't know. It's one of the weirdest things that's ever happened to me. I wish I could still have answers, or I would still wish I could have answers.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that is a very cool story. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
You too.
Very cool. Wow, that is oh, that's kind of scary.
Yeah, that is creepy. I never heard of the moon-eyed people before.
Yeah, I've heard stories about them. It's not something that I've dug too deeply into. You know what I'm talking about. Oh, we got an echo.
Oh, my bad. I'll go.
Are we good? Oh, okay. Phantom, just come right back.
It wasn't my fault.
That happens. No, sometimes if you're getting a phone call or if you got something going on with your phone, it'll cause that. We got Bearzilla. Interesting name. Reminds me of Bearilla. Hello, welcome.
All right, so I do got a story. So I work in a jail. And we had this one guy who was in there for murder. Now, what happened was I used to work the third shift. Every night he would stay up all night. He had high blood pressure. So his medicine used to keep him up all night. A coworker of mine said that she had a dream, and she told the dream to some of us, that he was face down, surrounded by water.
Let me interrupt you real quick. Just so you know, we do have to be very careful of language, and it kind of sounds like this is going to be kind of one of those type of stories, so just be careful with what you say, okay?
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Sorry. That he was unalive and surrounded by water. Now, probably a month later, I get into work and she gets told the news that he is unalive. Apparently what happened was he had a heart attack while he was in the shower. Just like in her dream.
Premonition.
Yep. Was that something that this person experienced a lot? Did they have a lot of premonitions, or was it the only time?
I'm not gonna lie, people kind of write her off as insane from time to time. She's not been the same since her mother expired. But she did tell people about that dream before it happened.
Yeah, that's interesting. Lots of people experience premonition. It's really peculiar, and it's something you have to experience to really get a grasp on. It's pretty strange.
So I figured this would fall into the spooky story category.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate you sharing that with us.
Not a problem. Y'all have a good one.
You
Thanks,
too.
you too. Just a quick reminder, guys, we got to be careful about language. Just TikTok rules, you know how it is here. We got to be careful and mindful, and I'll probably be reminding guests off and on throughout the night, unfortunately. All right, Phantom is back.
Hello.
Hello. I do apologize for earlier and the delay or echo or whatever it was.
Yeah, it happens.
All right, so we got some spooky ooky things to share, if that's okay. So where I live, I'm not going to give the actual names because I try to stay a little bit anonymous, but I'll tell the story. There is a cemetery that is very haunted, and the legend goes is that there were 3 witches that lived a couple miles west of the cemetery in the 1800s, and they did all their things, and they were chased from the road that they lived on to this cemetery where they were, things happened, and then they were buried underneath that tree. So, in unmarked graves. So this is like a couple miles down the road from me. And I've lived here pretty much my whole life. Now, some things to note. This road is infamous for activity. And I'm not talking about just paranormal activity. I'm also talking about criminal activity and also cult activity. There are people that have been arrested out there, found naked, doing, all kinds of interesting things. And I went out there one day, because I like the spooky stuff, so I'm in the right place. Went out there one day, and I found a dog that was not with us anymore. But it was a young dog. Had to be less than a year old, but it was just laying there. And so I was like, well, that's a little odd. And it was in the middle of winter. And I don't know what possessed me to do this, because I know you're not supposed to approach an animal that you don't know. But I walked up to it, and I kind of touched it to make sure that it was not with us anymore. And it was still warm, but it had no heartbeat. It was gone. So I was like, well, that's weird. It had to have just happened. And I was with my cousin, and we hear this kind of shriek laughing around us in the woods. And so we barrel out of there. And of course, the next stop in our journey was going to be the cemetery. So we go to the cemetery, and there's a lot of folklore about the cemetery with the witches. And while we're there, there is the distinct feeling of broom straw across our backs. Like we felt it grazing across. And there was one of those little, what are they called? Like little spinning wheels, little pinwheels, I think they're called, on one of the graves. It was a grave of a child. And so we sit down, we start asking questions. And so we're like, okay, so why are you here? What do you want? Whatever. And it seemed that we were in contact with the witches. And so me being me, ooky spooky and all that, I decided that I was going to go down there quite often. And one could say that I built a relationship with the ghosts of these witches. But, yeah, that's just one little thing, but...
Well, that's really interesting. So do you still go, or?
Well, the unfortunate part about this is, so my mother actually married one of the descendants of the family that is buried in the cemetery. And so he was the caretaker of it. Well, unfortunately, because of all the folklore around this specific cemetery, which I would be happy to share that with you, by the way, if you would be interested in looking into that, it attracts a lot of angsty teens. And unfortunately, they vandalized the cemetery pretty bad, to the point where some of the family had actually decided to build a house like right next door to the cemetery to keep an eye on it. And the final straw was when, I don't know if it was teenagers, I don't know who did it, but somebody went out there and actually spray painted a very elaborate pentagram. And I'm not saying like a pentagram, I'm talking like one of the seals, like the grand sigils. Yeah, so it's under heavy watch now, so I don't go in that part of town anymore.
Yeah. Well, that is really fascinating. Very cool. We appreciate you sharing that with us.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming up. All right, guys. We're off to a great start. We got a bunch of good stories in here.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah. Everybody tap the screen, send some likes, get some people in here.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Hello.
Welcome. Well, I would like to tell my story. This happened to me about 27 years ago when I was like 20 years old. I used to work at Marvin Engineering. This is in California. And I didn't have a car at that time, so I had to walk maybe like 10 blocks, but they were like short blocks. At that time, I used to leave at 5 in the morning so I could get to my job at 6. And it was really dark. The only lights that would be outside were the lights that they have outside. And I was walking and I see this man with a trench coat, and it was like a black long trench coat, and he had a black hat, and he had a black dog. But this man was so tall, he must have been like 7 feet tall. And I saw him maybe a block away, and something just in my body just like felt so like afraid, and my legs even kind of felt like jello, like almost like it was just like a weird feeling that I got. So then I thought to myself, oh my God, like I'm scared, like to pass nearby him. But then something inside of me said, no, don't be afraid. Pass by him, say hi to him, and then that's it. But because I thought I don't know, I thought he was going to chase me or something. So I passed by him. I turned to look at his face, but I can't see his face because he had a hat on, and I just couldn't see with his face at all. So I say, good morning, and then he just nods his head. He doesn't reply to me or anything. And also, his dog had like these yellow, like burning fire kind of eyes, So then I start walking, and I might have walked like 3 steps, and I turn around to see, I look back just to see if he was still there. For some reason, I don't know why, but he wasn't there anymore. And I didn't hear his dog walk. I didn't hear him walk or run away. So there was no way that he could have gotten away without me hearing him move or anything. So then I just walked to my job, really afraid. So the next day I said, okay, I'm not going to pass by that block. I'm going to walk different route that would take me just straight to my job, whatever, and just going to do that. So I'm walking, and same man, different block, comes, I see him again, same scenario. And I'm like, oh my God. So I do the same thing again. I say, good morning. He doesn't respond. He just nods his head. And I'm like, oh my God. So then I turn around again, and he's not there. This happened to me about maybe 6 times, because then after that, I was really afraid. So I asked my mom, I talked to my mom, and I'm like, Mom, you know what? I think I want to buy a car. Do you have some money I can borrow so I can buy a car? I was like, I'm really afraid. I see this man in the morning. And my mom's like, I think you just want money. That's all. I don't believe you. She said, I don't believe you. She goes, let's do this. You're going to walk, and I'm going to be on the car on the side of you. And when you see him, point point him out to me. And I'm like, okay. So I'm walking and I see the man and I'm pointing to her and she says she doesn't see him. She's like, I don't see him. I don't see him. So then she has to like go a little bit faster because I was walking pretty slow. And she says she saw him on her rearview mirror. She saw him, but she couldn't visually see that person with her eyes, but that she saw him through the mirror, you know? And she stopped at the corner and she waited for me and she's like, I apologize. I saw him. I couldn't visually see him, but I saw him through the mirror. And she goes, I know what you're talking about. And so then that was the end of it because I never saw him again because I bought a car. But I just wanted to tell you guys, if you've ever seen this man before or anything similar to this or...
It kind of sounded a little like Hat Man at first, but it kind of doesn't at the same time. That's really unique and really scary.
And I have other stories, but I'll let somebody else join in, and then I'll be at the bottom with the other. With the group.
Yeah, definitely hang out and come back if you want. And
come back.
Yeah, I got a lot of creepy stories. But, if you want to put me down.
All right, I got you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming up. Yeah, that's really cool. Guys, in the comments, do you all have any ideas of what that could have been? That is really strange. I mean, I guess it could have just been like an entity, like just bring her back. Yeah, she can definitely come back if she wants. I don't know. Sometimes people don't want to, stay up for too long. Sometimes they do. So, yeah, no, she can definitely come back if she wants to.
Encore. They want an encore.
Encore.
Yeah, it almost sounds like even Hatman needs to exercise, and maybe she caught a glimpse of that.
Yeah, it did kind of... But I've never heard of Hatman having a dog, though. So that's interesting.
Oh, yeah.
I'm back.
Okay.
I have a story. This is not my story. This is my husband's story. I live in Seattle, Washington now. So the building we used to live at, it's a really old building. It's almost like 4 units, but they're almost like condos. So I got up for work, and Saturdays and Sundays, that's the only days I used to work really early. So I never woke up my husband. I just let him sleep, and I would get up and leave. But he said he heard me, that he was awake, and he heard me when I walked out the door and I closed the door. But then he heard me come back, almost as if I forgot something. So he heard the door reopen. And then when he heard footsteps on the hallway, he said he almost heard like animal footsteps, like almost a dog walking through the hallway. And for some reason, when that thing arrived to the door, to our bedroom door, he said he got really scared. And he pulled the covers, but he didn't pull them all the way. He pulled them almost like half up to his nose or whatever. So then he said that thing jumped on the bed and was trying to pull the covers off him. And he was like almost fighting and tugging with this thing. And then he crawled to my husband's face and he started smelling my husband. He was like sniffing him, like. And then my husband said he just didn't move, like he just stood still. And then he licked him. He started licking him. And my husband wouldn't move. He was so afraid. And then I guess he was tired of what he was doing. Like he smelled him and everything. And he jumped off. And he heard him run through the hallway. And he was like running through the living room and stuff. And as soon as my husband stopped hearing his footsteps, that's when he got up. And he got all my kids up. And he went to my job. And he knocked on the door at my job, and he's like, did you come back to the house? And I'm like, no, I didn't. And he goes, are you sure? I go, yes, I'm sure. I didn't come back. But he was pale, like his face was pale, and like he just looked sick. And I thought maybe he had like something bad to tell me, like something happened or something. And he's like, well, he's like, this happened to me. And he started telling me the story. He's like, I'm not going to come back to the house. I'm scared. And this is a grown man like telling me this story, and I'm like, oh my God, like that was really creepy. So that's one of the other stories that I have.
Holy cow, yeah, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
saw Chris
cool.
in the comments. Did you have something to say?
Oh no, just that's horrifying. I would have tried to box it or something. That's crazy.
I know. But this is not the first time that's happened to him. We actually moved from that building because we had a lot of things happen to us in that building, like a lot of creepy things. And I used to be part-time manager there. And we moved, but I have a lot of stories, but I don't want to bother you guys with all my stories. But we moved to the other building next to it, and I guess this thing followed us. And the same thing happened, and that's what he did. He freaking boxed it, like he hit it, but he said he didn't open his eyes. He just hit it, and he heard it fall on the ground, and then it didn't bother him anymore. It was weird.
Wow.
Wow.
I don't know. I'm Mexican, so we believe a lot in Nahual. I don't know if it's right the way I'm saying it in English, but they're people that turn into animals and transform, like natives do too. I think they believe in that too. I don't know, but I think it was maybe that. I don't know, but it's weird. It's just something really weird.
Yeah, that is. Wow.
Yeah.
So if you have lots of stories, definitely hang out.
Yeah, I can hang out.
And pop back up in a little bit and tell
And I'll
us
give
some
you the
more.
part two. I'll give you the part two to maybe what that could be too. I can give you the part
that sounds
two.
good. All righty.
Okay.
Well, we
Thank
appreciate you. Thanks. Wow, that is
That's wild.
yeah, that is. All right, the box is filling up. Guys, tap the screen, get some people in here.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Hello, everyone. So, I am a paranormal investigator, and I have seen a lot of things. I have felt a lot of things. One of the things is when I was younger, I was getting ready to go to work, and I lived in my dad's basement. And we had just bought the house. We knew the house was haunted. We knew that there were some problems there. So we decided to buy the house anyways. Well, needless to say, I was going to work that night and I laid down to take a nap. Well, something come in there, grabbed the covers, and threw them off of me. Gets a little scary when you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I was also laying there in bed one night, and something just ran and jumped in the bed with me. It was more or less like a little kid that's running and jumping in bed with his parents. Now, was it a little kid? I don't know. I live in a house that both of the parents passed away in. So, was it something that followed them or something that followed me?
Huh. And you still live there now?
I still live here now. I'm a paranormal investigator, and I've blessed the house, and I've had two of my teams in here, and a friend of mine is a paranormal investigator. We brought his team in here. We've picked up a few things, but we've cleansed the place, and we haven't had any problems since. Now, also, I bought a bed, and this bed went with me wherever I went. So I bought it I took it to 3 different locations. So every time I moved, this thing followed me and went with me. So it attached itself not to me, but to personal items in the house. Now, also, I was laying in bed one night and something just came up and started crawling all over me, got in my face and told me to get out. Now, I'm not like most people, I didn't just jump up and start turning on all the lights and find out what it was. I sat there for a few minutes and I thought it was a dream paralysis because everybody was telling me, oh, you're just imagining everything. It's dream paralysis. And dream paralysis can cause you to see things and hear things and feel things, but not all your life. So I was living in a mobile home with my ex-girlfriend, and this is how I became a paranormal investigator. The trailer we were living in, we had just finished watching Paranormal Activity. Well, my girlfriend's mom went and stood over my wall and just started staring at me. Her eyes were just as black as coal. There's no people. That's what got me into find out what's going on.
You're a bit muffled.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if there was something in the trailer. Now, granted, somebody told me that the places that we have lived in is all built on Indian burial ground. Now, I'm Irish. I'm also Cherokee Indian. And, is it something that is watching over us? Is it something protecting us? Or is it something trying to scare us away?
Yeah, it could just be, activity in general. Chris, any ideas? Anything you want to throw in there?
I'm not too sure what to think about that. It doesn't really seem too malicious or anything.
It's never hurt anybody, but
Right.
we did get a scare because it threw the fan off of the dresser. And it dragged me, it did drag me out of bed.
Oh,
And
never
levitate,
mind.
and levitate me.
Oh, gosh.
Now,
Okay.
Yeah, so I decided I wanted to find out what's going on.
Yeah, never mind. I guess that kind of does sound pretty bad. But you said, when's the last time something happened?
The last time something happened was probably, I'd say probably a couple of months ago.
Okay.
We were just sitting here and I went to sleep and all of a sudden I felt like something breathing in my face. It was more or less like a cat sitting on your chest and breathing in your face, telling you to wake up.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. But you said you cleansed the house?
Yes, we cleansed the house. We've got crosses everywhere. I've got dream catchers everywhere.
And
that pretty much got rid of it. It hasn't done anything since then. But my kids are still scared to stay in the house. They haven't lived in the house in almost a year.
Oh, yeah, I bet. It's unfortunate because we have a couple people. We usually have a couple regulars in here that know a lot about this. And I wish they were here so they could give you some advice.
Yeah,
well,
they'll
my
probably
daughter
be in a little later. Actually, they usually come in around midnight or so. So, like after you're off here, if you want to hang out and listen for a little bit, they'll probably show up. It's Ollie and Druid, and yeah, we do have some knowledgeable people. We also have a lot of people from the Native American communities that like to come in, so they could definitely clarify some stuff on that topic for you too.
Well, my daughter said she saw a black figure in her closet, and it would come out and stare at her. Now, we've never seen anything. We've put cameras in there. We've done investigations in there, and we've never picked up anything. But she told me that there was a mysterious dark shadow in there. It was like it was wearing a cloak, but it had no eyes.
Yeah,
So what's your take on that?
scary. That sounds pretty horrifying.
Now, we've never seen anything, so I mean, as far as actually physical contact, seeing anything, no, we've never seen anything. I was told that there is a black owl that lives in my house.
Really? That's interesting. Druid is here. Sarah, should we bring Druid? If you want to come up here and talk to this guy, I don't know if you have any advice for him. All right, let me.
Okay, so just got here. He said something about a figure with a long black cloak in the closet or something.
Yes, in my daughter's closet, but she says it has no eyes.
Sounds to me like it might possibly be a shadow person, which is interdimensional. There's a figure that... Did he have a hat?
All I know, she said that he had a black cloak, and that it was more or less like it would look like the Grim Reaper, but there was no eyes.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like it's probably a shadow person.
Okay.
Yeah, near as I can figure.
And I was told that we have what's called a black owl in the house.
Okay. Owls tend to have different symbolism depending upon which culture it's in reference to. Like, for example, for some beliefs, they tend to be a portent of someone passing on, whereas in other cultures, they would be seen as a symbol of wisdom, such as with the Greeks. I believe Athena had an owl, if I'm not mistaken, or she had symbolism with an owl.
Well, I was told that because I'm Irish and Cherokee, that it was a protector.
I could see that. Because you have to remember, too, that the shade black is not always necessarily a negative shade / color. It just, again, it really depends upon the culture. It depends upon your perception of things. Black in some cultures is used for mourning, whereas, for example, if you're over in, I believe it's China, in funerals they wear white. It's that kind of thing.
Okay, let me ask you another question. Okay, our town, we have a cemetery.
Okay.
Now, in the cemetery, when my mom was a little girl, the town and the police burnt the cemetery. Now, the reason they've done this was told that the cemetery had vampires in it.
Sorry.
And I'm sorry, but the city supposedly burnt the cemetery because they believed there was vampires in the cemetery.
Okay, so I do have a substantial amount of books in regards to the folklore about vampires. I will say, suffice, most of what we know about vampires comes from a lot of European folklore. There is, in fact, people out there that would identify as genuine vampires. But they're nothing like the figures of folklore. And even with the figures of folklore, they tend to be more akin to like ghouls rather than what we would really consider as the modern imagery of a vampire with the fangs and the pale face and the dashing predator, if you will. That didn't come around until Bela Lugosi, and I think it wasn't even until like the first Dracula movies that vampires were featured with fangs, if I remember right. But so the thing about vampires, I know that there's certain Eastern European countries that are still very much under the impression that these ghoulish vampires do in fact exist. I think there was like, what was it, the late 90s, I think it was, that they actually dug up a supposed vampire. The family was there, and I guess it was like people that had been passing away or something like that mysteriously in the town. And this was, of course, in Romania. So they dug up the deceased person. They removed the heart and torched it until it was ashes, mixed the ashes with water, and had the family members drink it. Basically as a means to get rid of this vampire indefinitely, quote unquote. And yes, I do remember, I remember somebody was saying something about Carmilla, but even in Carmilla, they don't really mention fangs. But yeah, it sounds more to me like a case of mass hysteria rather than anything else.
Yeah, I'm not real familiar about it. That's just what, my mom had told me, and she even told the paranormal investigators here. So they went to try and find some information on it, which we have what's called Pilot's Knob. Is where the witch is supposed to be buried.
Right.
It was a little girl. She ended up with a stomach disease, and they thought that she was a witch and everything else. So they buried her, and they had put like little crosses around her grave and everything else. And the grass won't grow where the grave is because they put rocks down.
Phantom, I'm actually friends with some of them. Sorry.
Are you?
Yeah, they were mentioning the vampires of New Orleans, and I actually am friends with some of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Papa Czar is one of them. He runs the Voodoo Authentica down in New Orleans. But anyway, so again, if you look at a lot of your cases pertaining to supposed witches back in the day, a lot of that was also based in mass hysteria. The people of Salem that had been hanged for witchcraft during that whole craze during the Phantom, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. The other ones, yes, I know. Anyway, so it was a craze, mass hysteria. None of them were actually witches. It was just people being convicted because of the actions of a couple girls that took a joke a little too far, and ended up with the passing, the execution of, I think it was, what was it? Was it 9 people? I think it was like 9. It was a lot smaller of a number than people seem to think it was. But there was one, most of them are hanged except for I think 2, one in particular named Giles Corey, which was crushed to death by stones. Yeah.
Yeah, they've got it listed that Pilot's Knob is one of the scariest places in Kentucky for you to go and do the paranormal investigating. I think another one is Baker Hollow Church Road, which I think I remember seeing on here before as a live video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not as familiar with places in Kentucky. I just know, like, essentially, like, the more popular, more well-known stories. Like, I know there's also, like, the Bell Witch of Tennessee as well,
yeah.
Which is a really well-known one.
Well, we also have the Blair's Witch as well.
So the thing about the Blair Witch, because I remember when that came out and everybody was like, oh no, this is such a scary story and this is supposedly what happened. Later on, as after the first movie came out, they basically said, yeah, we made it up. It was a hoax. It was
it was a hoax, and 4 college students spent $3,000 to make the movie.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Like,
and they were out of Owensboro,
scary,
Kentucky.
Admittedly, but
yes.
Oh, okay. Well, which is my spirit.
All right. Well, we appreciate you coming up, Bobby, and sharing your story with us. And hopefully you'll hang out with us tonight and listen to some more stories. And we appreciate you.
Sure. I appreciate you letting me come on. I've had several people ask me about coming on here and telling, since I was a paranormal investigator. I said I would share just as soon as I could. So I stay busy doing a lot of things. I do the paranormal investigator, but I'm more or less video, audio tech is what I do. So I'm the one that does all the cameras and stuff and the DVR systems. So
right on.
But thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Druid, do you want to hang out for a little bit?
Sure, why not?
Alrighty.
Yeah, I know. I've kind of been missing the lives. What was it, last week? Because I was binging Vikings again. So
I'm not sure who was here first. I think we had a couple people waiting. Hello, welcome.
Hello, how you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm doing well. This is going to be kind of short, but still creepy to me. It happened like 6 years ago. My daughter was 2, and me and my wife were in bed. We were before I go to bed, I always like to watch something scary. For some reason, it puts me to sleep. And as I went to sleep, my wife, she told me, because it's her story, she told me that she saw somebody of my stature standing in a doorway with a sheet over him. But then she called my name, and the sheet kind of I guess, whoever it was, walked through the side of the door out of range. And she was calling my name, but she looked on the side and see that I was still laying in the bed. Right after she saw the person, walk off, she heard the sound of a kid laughing. So she kind of went and checked, my daughter's room. My daughter was asleep and I was asleep. She was never able to process whatever it was that she saw. And it kind of messed with her for a few years. So she wasn't able to get any proper sleep. So, I mean. One thing that stuck out to me was when my granddad was alive, he told me that all land is pretty much haunted because you never know who lived there before you. Something can be built over something else and we wouldn't even know about it. They wouldn't keep history, stuff like that. They wouldn't keep, they wouldn't have no way of knowing unless they want you to know, basically. A lot of creepy stuff happens. Yep, so.
Yeah, that makes sense. Phantom, thank you for subscribing. Panel, you guys have you want to add anything? I don't want to talk over you guys if you were going to say anything.
No, that's definitely creepy, but it's true. Yeah, I mean, you never know what happened. You never know what's haunted and what's not. The McDonald's down the street could be haunted for all I know. So
I actually knew of a Dairy Queen that was haunted.
Well, that happens, right? There's a lot of businesses that have activity. So, I mean, there you go.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
It's interesting too because you can look at all these different places that tend to have more frequent hauntings, and you're not going to find a lot of cemeteries, for example, that are actually haunted, because more often than not, when people are haunting a place, it's because either they're unaware of the fact that they've passed on, so they will go somewhere that is familiar to them, and they will basically do their regular, everyday, normal routine in the case of such as, the apparitions, or it's just a sense of a place, a locale of comfort.
I completely agree with you. She lost her uncle a few years back. Now, he died from cancer, but he passed at the hospital. And but before he died, her mom was taking care of him at her house. And, strange things started happening. We had like these little floor mats. They were plastic. When you walk across them, they make it like a sliding sound. We would hear that, but no one would be around. So, even though he passed at the hospital, his spirit, somehow is, I guess, stayed at the house. I mean, that's the only thing we can think of, because prior to that, we never had anything happen.
Right.
Very interesting. Well, thank you so much for coming up and talking with us, and hopefully you'll hang around and listen to some stories here tonight.
I most definitely will. I love horror stories, and I listen to a lot of podcasts. And once I found this, I'm like, you know what? First time doing it, why not?
Awesome. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, guys.
Huh.
Two Smokes is here. Hey, Two Smokes.
You're a legend, Two Smokes.
Yep, for sure. All right, guys, tap the screen. Let's get the number up, get out there, and get some people in here. More people means more ghost stories. Let's see. Let's get Phantom back up here.
Salute.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Okay. I heard y'all talking about vampires, and that's my absolute favorite subject.
Ooh.
Yes. I consider myself a Strigoi. It is what it is.
Yes,
But-
Strigoi by which house?
Oh, well, I'm just talking dead.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I have another story, if y'all are open to it.
Yeah, of course.
So this actually happened fairly recently. I was talking to one of my friends, and she gave me a nickname, kind of out of the random. She said that she was looking through different cryptids and ooky spooky things, and she saw a name of a creature. Not a creature, that's probably disrespectful. A deity called the Lord of the Games. And she gave me that nickname because I'm very mischievous and, whatever. And so she gave me this nickname, and I thought it was funny. So we were talking about that. Well, a couple weeks later, I see an interesting article about my hometown, and that there is and this is a very niche thing, very niche. I see an article about the Lord of the Games, and there being a stone in dedication of this deity in my hometown. And I was like, oh, that's odd. So I click on it, and I'm reading through and everything, and I see the name and everything, and it's called, the name of the deity is Sul Kalu, all right? And it is a Native American entity that basically would bless, they would perform offerings and things to this deity in exchange for a good hunt. That's why it's called Lord of the Games. And I just thought that was really interesting. And then the fact that it correlated with my name. Now, here's where it gets really weird. So, looking through all of this, I found that stone that was in reference to Sul Kalu has a direct line through where I was brought home to when I was born to a mound in the center of town that they say that they were called the Nunahi, which are, I don't want to say that they're the equivalent because I don't want to compare cultures like this, but it's similar. The idea of them is similar to what like the Irish Fae are. So,
my gods, yes.
Yeah. So basically, the tribe that was living there would call upon them in times of distress, and that they would come out of the mound and do away with the opposing tribe. And I found that really interesting. It forms a direct line. Now, there is another line or another spot that's right in the center of this other line. That is where the Moon-Eyed people are. And if you can't tell, I'm from the South. But anyway, I just thought that was really weird and really interesting. What do y'all think?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting for sure.
I'm not as well versed in Native American folklore to really know how to put some input in, unfortunately.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
same for me.
there's a whole other part of this that I left out. My bad. I'm so sorry. So this entity is called the Cherokee Devil. Which, interestingly enough, like when you look at like the European accounts of like the witch's devil, not necessarily Satan, very similar, which I find interesting. But the place in which I was brought home to at birth was called Skeena, which in the native tongue means the devil's courthouse. And turns out that that area was supposedly a place. It was called the Valley of the Spirits. And I'll just give like a small little example. So there was one day where my dad was taking me up through the mountain that we lived on. And there was a man up in the tree that only I saw that had no skin. But he was just staring at me. And of course, me being like 4 years old, I panicked and I was brought home. But anyway, there's a lot of weird stuff that happened in that little place. And I really think that the entire town is cursed.
Appalachia?
Yes.
That explains a lot.
That whole area, it's interesting because I've taken people there before that are not from there. And they say that when you enter the town, it's like entering a fog. There's just like a bleakness over everything. It's really weird.
Huh.
So, yeah, I mean, as far as like foggy places go, we definitely have them in Appalachia. I don't know if it's, like if it's just natural fog or whatever, but yeah, it's pretty interesting. Let's see. Did you have any other stories or anything you want to tell us about?
You know what? I do have another one about the house that was on Skeena.
Okay.
I was 4 years old. At the time, my parents were in the process of separating. And I was with my dad up at the house one day. And something happened that was not pleasant. And I was running to hide, and I went upstairs in one of the guest bedrooms, and I was hiding under the bed. And I was like, if anybody's listening, please help. Like, I don't know what to do. I'm scared. I don't know what to do. Well, the door that I had shut and locked opened, and I heard footsteps, but I didn't see anybody. And the rocking chair that was in the corner of the room started rocking. And at first I was like absolutely mortified, like shaking, freaking out, whatever. And as I sat there, I kind of I calmed down as it was rocking because I felt that it wasn't malicious towards me. And so I was like, okay, Great. So it's here to help. But nothing changed. And then, by that Friday, he was dead.
I've actually heard many times about people saying that they firmly believe from experience that if you rock a rocking chair, that somebody will pass away. I've never seen it happen or anything, but I've heard a lot of people talk about that belief. So, very interesting.
I mean, here's the other part though. So we're out of the house for about 3 months after that because it's very traumatic, when you lose a family member and everything like that. When we move back in, I'm upstairs in my room playing, and I'm like 4 years old at this time. I start hearing this sound behind me that sounds like a kind of like crackling. And I turn around, and what I see is going to be forever burned into my mind, I'm convinced. It's a like 7 or 8 foot tall thing standing there with a tattered cloak on. It's got like this sash that has like, I don't even know what word to say other than evil looking. Like, I know that sounds stupid, but like that's the only way I know how to describe it. Evil looking embroidery on it. And then it's got pieces of flesh hanging from the ribs, and it's dripping a red fluid onto the carpet, and it's pooling in the carpet. And I'm sitting there just staring at this thing, and I don't know what to do because it's right there. I'm looking right at it, and I'm terrified. And finally, and by the way, its face, it was like sunken in, like it was like a skeleton, but with a layer of skin over it. And so it's just sitting there staring at me. And then finally, I run out of the room. I actually fell down the stairs and I broke my leg. And I told my mother, I was like, I'm never going in that room. I don't want to go up there. And I made such a big deal about it that she actually nailed the door shut because of how horrified I was, that like I didn't even want to go back in the house. And I've actually seen that thing on 2 more occasions years later, different places, different states, everything. But yeah, I kind of think that's what did it.
Yeah, that's pretty terrifying.
Almost sounds vaguely like a Draugr.
Ooh, what is this?
A Draugr? It's a entity out of Norse mythology that's kind of akin to like a lich or a zombie.
I mean, what's interesting is that like on the other 2 occasions, it wasn't malicious. Like it didn't feel at all malicious. It's like there was a weird understanding.
Oh, then yeah, definitely not a Draugr because they're malicious.
I don't know. I find that odd.
Well, we really appreciate you coming up and sharing with us, and definitely hang out with us for a little bit, listen to some stories. I'm going to try to get to some of the other guests, but thank you for coming up again.
Of course. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, guys, tap the screen. Get some people in here. Loris?
Hello.
Salute.
Hello, welcome. Hello. I think they might be sleeping. Loris, I'm going to drop you, and if you are wanting to come back up, feel free. Let's see.
Hello?
Hello, welcome.
Oh.
Sorry. Well, sorry, I'm echoing. So, it was a long time ago. I tell you a story before, and I've heard some people, they're like, well, I've seen it before. Well, I was working at a factory. I met like a preacher, and he asked me to take him to Missouri. So I drove him, his wife, and a friend of mine to Missouri to meet this like person at like what they do. They like turned their house into a church, right? So they're praying and stuff, and I'm like, God, let me start seeing the supernatural. Well, that's something you don't say. Guess he'll test you, I guess. So on the way back, my GPS messed up for some reason, threw me into a cornfield, and I saw like a wingspan that was like bigger than the van's window, and I'm like, that's odd. So a little bit further down the road, I just had this weird motion to turn my brights on, right? Well, all of a sudden out of the corner of my eye, I saw something. I jerked my head real quick, and the other people in the car saw it, but it kind of looked like the closest thing I can say is like the werewolf off the Harry Potter movie. And that's pretty creepy. And this was all around the time a friend of mine's kids messed with the Ouija board. And they're like, and I'm like, yeah, you probably should have told me before I came in here. And I said, just shit can follow me home.
So do you think that you saw a dog man?
I'm not sure. I mean, the other people in the van saw it, so I'm not sure. Could be
Doubtful that the Ouija board had anything to do with it, though.
It was all up in the air. I'm like, well, it could have been a demon. It could have been like a shapeshifter. It could have been just anything, almost.
Well, just in reference, because like a lot of people have these negative stipulations in regards to Ouija boards, when if you look at a Ouija board, it's no different than a pendulum or a gazing ball or a black mirror or any other form of divination. It's just based upon the people that use it that make it. It has a very negative connotation because of, yeah, it's not any scarier than any other forms of divination.
Right. They were seeing like a girl with no face, and some weird, creepy crap was happening too. And then I started hearing stuff in my house.
But yeah, it sounds like maybe a dog man or possibly some type of lycanthropy.
I don't know if it's. I do have a video, not of this, but like something growling in my house, like last year. Or at least it sounds like something growling. Just all of a sudden, my ex-girlfriend was like, "What the hell was that?"
Wow. Oh, yeah, you may have a dog man creeping around. I don't know. You never know. Are you familiar with the belief in dogman by any chance? Because we keep talking about it. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Well, I kind of was. Well, here's the weird thing. I was all into werewolves back then. So I don't know if maybe my, thoughts and stuff, maybe.
Psychosomatic. Do you know where the term lycanthropy actually came from?
Do what? Sorry.
Lycanthropy in regards to werewolves. Do you know where it came from?
Well, I remember there's quite a bit of different stories. There's all sorts of different religions and all this other stuff.
So the most common, which is, of course, the word lycanthropy actually came from the ancient Greek myth about a king on top of a mountain by the name of King Lycaos. Basically, to summarize the story, he ended up doing something that was so horrendous and an affront to the god Zeus that Zeus turned his entire court and himself into wolves afterwards.
I think I remember hearing something like that or reading something on it. I was really into it back when I was even kind of dumb and reading stuff out loud online. And I'm like, yeah, turn me into a werewolf and all that stuff. And I'm like, yeah.
Other forms of what would be considered werewolves in the Norse belief, you have the berserkers, which are the ones that wore the bearskin shirts, and they would take certain substances found in nature that would cause them to reach a battle frenzy where they would imbue themselves essentially with the strength of a bear. But there was also another form of class similar to that called the Ulfhednar, which were the wolf warriors. And much like with the berserkers, the ones that wore the bear shirts, they would wear the pelts of wolves and essentially have the same type of, they would go into a battle frenzy and take on the aspect of said animal. And there is, you see a lot of stuff like that in shamanism where people will wear pelts, or they will take an item or something like that has some type of attribute to a totem animal so that they can, through some form of ritual or magic, imbue themselves with the aspect of said animal. So in that regard, in the religious sense of it, werewolves actually did exist. Not to say that people can physically alter their anatomical structure to change into a wolf, but there are people that used ritual magic to imbue themselves with the aspect of a wolf.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot of really cool lore for sure. Very interesting. So did you have any other experiences that you wanted to share, or?
I've had quite a few of things that you can't even see, the stuff with the Ouija board and stuff. Well, I was at my friend's house, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna go pick up your dad from work, right? And then I'm sitting there. And I'm starting to walk out, and all of a sudden I heard I'm the only male in that house, and all of a sudden I heard a male's voice tell me, goodbye. And I just stopped in my tracks, kind of teary. I'm like, did I just fucking hear that? I'm like, I think you have to leave. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I just heard someone say goodbye. And then some weird stuff happened, and they thought I was crazy in that, and they left just to, and then they came back before I came back, and I don't know if they were messing with me or not, but they were huddled in the corner, freaked out as shit, and looking in a certain spot, and they're crying and everything, and I'm like, I can't see anything, but supposedly they could see stuff, and I'm like, I don't know if they were just messing with me or not, but they seemed really freaked out and crap.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we appreciate you coming up and sharing that with us, and hopefully you hang out here tonight, listen to some stories, and if you want to come back later and share something, feel free.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. All right, guys. Let's tap the screen, get the likes up, get some people in here, get some ghost stories going. If you're new here, we do paranormal stories, extraterrestrial stories, cryptid stories, unexplained in general, things that you just don't really know what happened. It was just weird and kind of freaked you out. Glitch of the Matrix, we do that one for Chris because that's his favorite. Also, if you want to follow Chris, definitely do that. He does horror stuff, so if you like horror movies and horror things, you'll love Chris. And Druid knows everything in the world, so you definitely want to follow Druid. And we appreciate you being here, Druid. It's always fun when you come hang out with us.
I'm just a veritable encyclopedia of useless knowledge.
Well, you are excellent to have on panel, and we always appreciate you here.
Thanks.
And yeah, absolutely. And guys, we have a subscription for the channel. If you like what we do here, you want to support, it's a great way to support. You also get access to the Discord. The Discord is wild. We do the craziest things. We have the craziest Discord. It is so fun. Lots of cool stuff over there. We do like little mini streams throughout the week where we get on there and kind of talk to each other, tell each other ghost stories and spooky stuff. And sometimes we talk about deer jerky for extended periods of time. I don't know what's up with that. It seems like a weird topic, but it happens.
Venison is delicious.
I don't even eat meat, but it's like we always end up talking about deer jerky and like turtle stew and stuff like that.
I mean, there are some pretty decent vegan alternatives, though. I've tried, so.
Yeah. But we have a good time over there, guys. So if you want to be part of the community, that's definitely a good way to do it. You will enjoy it. You'll also get some cool emojis. Guys, if you are subs, if you want to spam the comments with some cool paranormal emojis, that would be awesome. Spooky stories? Yeah, Bryce. I mean, words are hard, I guess. But yeah, I get you. It's funny. All right, guys, tap the screen. Let's get some people in here. The landlord, bruh. All right, let's see what the landlord has to say. Hey, welcome.
How's it going, you guys?
Good, how are you?
Good. So, when I was younger, I used to get like these crazy nightmares, bro. But then when I wake up, like the shadows would still be there, but they would instantly go away. So like, do you guys think this could have actually been like a ghost trying to attack me, or like think it was just like a regular dream?
It kind of sounds like sleep paralysis.
Yeah, I definitely had that. But like, do you think if you have sleep paralysis, it's just a dream, or like there's actually like a demon trying to get to you?
Well, I mean, you can read about it online, but there's a pretty good amount of scientific explanations for it. I don't think they know like the root cause of it, though, right, Druid? Do you know?
Sleep paralysis? No, I don't think they do. Like, there's definitely, your folkloric accounts, like the night hag syndrome and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't think they have necessarily the cause.
Yeah. Also, like, I remember, like, I woke up one time and I felt pressure on my chest, and it was just a figure. And I remember I just swiped it and it just went away, and I went back to sleep.
Male or female?
It was just a black figure. I couldn't even tell.
The reason I asked is because the first thing that comes to mind, if it's not the folkloric night hag, is it could be either an incubus or a succubus.
That's pretty cool.
Are you familiar with those?
No.
So incubi and succubi are types of demons. Incubi are the male and succubi are the female. And they're said, according to the different mythologies and legends, that they are the offspring of Lilith, which is said to be the first wife of Adam, with the demon Samael.
That's actually so interesting.
Yeah.
So
Samael, of course, being the actual name of the devil, Lucifer's lesser Greek deity. Could go into the theological aspect of that, but yeah, supposedly she basically had consorted with demons, creating her offshoot, her spawn, which were the incubi and the succubi. And I think another one that is mentioned in the Greek would be the Lamia. Yeah.
So do you believe in the Bible and the creation story?
Absolutely not.
No.
Sorry, that's to be honest.
No, I used to not, but then like when I saw that ghost at one time, I realized there might be like that all might be real then.
Yeah, I mean, and it could very well be for the people that see those things or perceive those things. But myself, I am very much a pagan who has been a devoted practitioner of the Druid path for over 20 years. So my path, my belief tends to focus on the polytheistic old gods of Celtic Europe.
Oh, so is there like a creation story with those gods?
So, because it's based in an oral tradition, a lot of the folklore that we have about the original Druids are based in secondhand accounts by the Romans and then later on Christian monks. So, unfortunately, any semblance of a creation story that may have existed within my faith, unfortunately, would have been lost to time.
Wow.
And crazy, yes, I have read the Book of Enoch.
The Book of Enoch? Oh, yeah. I looked into that too a little bit. The giants. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's wild AF, guys. I was trying to respond to the comments. Yeah, I read it. It's a trip.
It is.
But so landlord, we appreciate you coming up. Hopefully you hang out with us tonight, listen to some stories, and hang out in the chat. And yeah,
I'm just saying, I think like the best way to get rid of demons is by praying to God.
If they're Semitic, yes, but there are also forms of demon creatures that exist within Chinese, most of Eurasia. I wouldn't necessarily say they're demons, but they're negative spirits.
So did The Conjuring, is that actually based on a true story?
Conjuring. I'm trying to remember. There's a lot of different movies out there.
Yeah, it's based on Ed and Lorraine Warren's investigations, and they're not reliable sources whatsoever. Mm-hmm. They were actually con artists. So
really,
but it is an interesting story nonetheless, and we appreciate you coming up. I'm gonna try to get to some more guests. Hopefully, hang out with us though.
All right, have a good night, you guys.
You too.
Absolutely, you too. All right, guys, tap the screen. Get some people in here. We got Lodge Tales.
What's up, Lodge Tales?
Hello.
Hey.
Oh, hey, guys. So that sleep paralysis thing, we, like in my tribe, I don't know how to kind of describe it. If there's something that's scaring you, basically, and you feel it in your guts, like really a deep-seated fear, chances are it's bad. It's because when you sleep, we believe that not all the time, but at times you go into that spirit world. You actually travel into their world, so it's easier for them to mess with you there. If they're bad, if they're up to no good, it's easier for them to invoke a fear response and then basically feed on that fear. That's kind of how they eat, I guess I would say. But not all of them that paralyze you are bad. So I don't know if I've ever told this story, but I'll tell it anyways. If it's a repeat, I'm sorry. But so when I was in boarding school for high school, that Chamawa Indian school is where I went. I told the matron to wake us up because they said there was a powwow that was supposed to go on. And they wanted maximum participation from the students, so they were kicking us out of the dorms. And we had to go down there at noon on a Saturday, and it was just a one-day powwow, school powwow. We didn't like going there because, well, we just didn't like it. We didn't like mandatory fun things. We kind of balked at stuff like that. Well, anyways, I told the matron to wake me up. I said, I'm just going to go to sleep, take a nap, and just wake me up. Well, he forgot, and he left me in there. And when he left me in there, all I remember is this little man. He was walking with me, so this is like in the dream state that I was still in. He was walking with me and he brought me into this. He showed me a lot of things before this, and I can't even remember what they were. To this day, I can't remember, but it was really interesting and really, I don't know how to say it. I had a good feeling about it, everything he was talking to me about it. And we were speaking Blackfeet the whole time. We were speaking like that. And when he brought me to that portal thing, I don't know what it was. It was like naturally grown trees that made this like portal, like a kind of oval shaped doorway. we walked through that. Next thing you know, I come to and I'm laying on my bed and I can't move. But that's what I went through before I woke up. And in Indian, I'm telling him, I'm trying to tell him to let me up. I gotta, take a piss. Like I was trying to tell him that to let me up. But I realized I couldn't talk anymore. I was just stuck. But I knew he was in the room. He was on my friend's bed, actually sitting on my friend's pillow. He was that small. And I would look toward him. Like the first time I looked toward him, I didn't even realize I couldn't move everything just yet. I just thought maybe I was just waking up and kind of groggy, but I moved my eyes toward him. And he blurred my vision. He pushed my eyes. Like he just pushed my eyes, not my head. I couldn't move my head, just my eyes. He pushed my eyes straight ahead to where I was looking at the top bunk because I'm laying flat on my back. And it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to see if I can look at him anyways. And so I build up some willpower, whatever it was. I don't know what it was. And I look and I seen him. I seen his little leg. That's all I seen was his leg. And he had this red, I don't know what they were, like trunks or something, some kind of cloth that went kind of down by his knees. And he was really dark skinned, but his leg was only about as big as like a 3-month-old baby's leg. He was only that tall. He was real small. And immediately he blurred my vision again and pushed my head straight up, or my eyes straight up. And I thought, well, I'm just going to get up. I'm just going to make myself get up, I was thinking, because I really got to use the bathroom. And so I finally get all this willpower and I'm like, okay, I'm going to make the push. And I try to get up. I just bounced right out of bed. And I was out of it for some reason. I was totally out of it. Must have been out of it before I got all excited and kind of amped up to do it. I must have already been out of it because I just shot out of bed. There was no struggle or nothing. And when I got up, I immediately looked over at that pillow. I'm like, where did he go? Geez, that was weird. I was thinking to myself, geez, that was really weird because I wasn't scared at all. I wasn't scared of him. He wasn't bad. And I looked out the window. It's this little small window, and I thought maybe he ran out that, but there's like little bits of really fine gravel in that it's like a gutter. And I looked up and down that, and I didn't see tracks. I don't know where he went, that little spirit. He just headed out. So I went and used the bathroom, and I was on my way. But that's what I'm saying. Not all the times when you're paralyzed is it something bad. And I don't know why they paralyze you. I really don't. Now, as far as all the science into the sleep paralysis, I mean, I don't know. I've never studied it, so I don't really have an opinion on that. But from the spiritual side of it, that's how I look at it, is they're interacting with you for some reason, whether it's good or bad at those times, because you actually see something there. And people say, well, you're probably asleep yet and you're just dreaming still. Yeah, it don't really seem like that, though, when it's going down. If anyone's ever experienced it, you know it's both really terrifying and, in this other case with me, just nonchalant. Like there's really nothing about it. There's no fear, anything. There's actually a good feeling about it. But yeah, that's what I think is kind of odd about that sleep paralysis is I don't think it's a one-size-fits-all situation. I think it's very dependent on you, because some people say they feel a weight on their chest. Some people say there's actually something on them. Other people say there's something just across the room staring at them. You know, and in one night, I've told that story before, I was paralyzed 3 times by something really bad, and it was a hat man that did it to me. He looked physical the first 2 times, and he had 2 kids with him the second time. The first time, he was just physical looking, had his hat and his coat and all that. And the third time, he was actually the shadow that was darker than dark. It was darker than all the other shadows, and it was on my ceiling looking down at me. That was terrifying. That thing that was there was terrifying. And the Hat Man is attracted to suffering, to changes in life that are really bad. In my case, I had get a divorce, and I wasn't around my kids, and I loved my kids, and I had to be without them for a little while, and it was killing me really bad. And he knew it, and I was drinking a lot, and he was there. He showed up. But once I put barriers up, he was gone. He couldn't come back in that room. But yeah, the Hat Man and all that stuff, that sleep paralysis stuff, we just believe it's a bad spirit messing with you, or it could be a good one, just as simple as that. But just one last story I want to share before I get off of here. I'm doing an interview with a guy tomorrow night. He lives on our res. He's actually a returning guest to my podcast. And this house that he lives in, my aunt used to live there. And he doesn't know this story, but I want to share it with you guys. So when my aunt lived there, her sister, my other aunt, come from out of town and was staying with her for like 2 weeks before they like got their own place. And they had it all lined up. They just had to wait for a little while, 2 weeks. And so my aunt they just shared the same bed. My two aunties, they just slept in a bed. The sister slept in one bed, and the auntie coming in to stay, her husband was sleeping on a couch. Every night at about 2 or 3 in the morning, this Indian would come in, but he wasn't dressed in like white buckskin or nothing like that, like how they look for, when they're really dressed up. He wasn't like that. He was more like just birch cloth, like a warrior, looking like he's gonna go out and look like a warrior, dressed like a warrior. He would come in. There was a sliding glass door that was facing the back toward the woods. He would open that door and come in and sit at the table. The table was right by the sliding glass door, and he'd sit down. And when he first came in, I'll just say his name, Jack. He didn't know what he was, like who that was. He got up and he was looking at him. Walked in the kitchen and he was looking at him, and it was just this old Indian, like an old man, but he looked like a warrior, and he's just looking at him. And he said, do you want something to eat? So you hungry? And that old man just looked at him, got up and walked out the door. And he did this a couple more times before finally that old Indian, it took his food. He fed him oatmeal. And that old warrior ate that oatmeal and then would walk out that door. But he was somebody from a whole different time and place. He wasn't anybody from around there, right? He was like one of the old ones that passed on, but he actually came in and ate oatmeal. I thought that was a really strange story. But anyways, that's my stories for the night, and I'm going to go ahead and hop off.
All right, before you go, everybody, follow Lodge Tales. And you said you're doing an interview tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll be doing the next one tomorrow night.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, guys, follow Lodge Tales, especially if you like these kinds of stories. You'll love Lodge Tales. So thank you for coming up. We always appreciate you so much.
Sure. Good night, everyone.
Awesome.
Good night.
All right. Ooh, I got cat hair stuck in my lipstick. Oof. All right. Listen, guys, I saw...
Got a few cat hairs.
Right. Somebody in the comments just said the most legendary thing I think I've ever seen in the comment section. I threw a beer bottle at the Jersey Devil. Whoever said that, I feel like you deserve something. Everybody, I don't know, like throw some Bigfoots in the comments or Jersey Devils or something. That was hilarious. Oh my God. All right, Evelyn has been waiting for a while. Let's get Evelyn up here. Ollie, do you want to just come up on the panel, or you got a story?
Story.
Hello, welcome.
Since Druid is here, and I wanted to see if Lodge could explain this story. I had a dream about maybe like 3 months ago. We just bought this house about a year ago, and I had a dream. We're Mexican, so I don't have any blonde-haired kids, but I had a dream that I was bathing a blonde-haired girl. And as I was, washing her hair, she kind of like touched her body forward, and she almost started like mumbling, and she started going like that. And I was like looking at her, but I couldn't see her because her hair went forward. And then all of a sudden, she just started speaking this different language, but I could understand what she was saying. It was so weird. And she was saying, "I'm not a little girl," but her voice was coming out almost as a grown woman, like this creepy voice. And then all of a sudden, I pulled her hair back to look at her face, and she was an old woman. It was just so weird. And then she turned around and she vomited this blood all over me. I don't know if I could say that, but, and then I kind of like wiped my eyes because I had it all over my body. It was all over the tub. And I just wiped my eyes off and I looked at her and she was a woman, like an older woman. And my husband heard me having a nightmare because I've always had nightmares really bad. And he heard me mumbling and like saying things, but almost like if I was in distress, like I was like moaning and stuff, but he couldn't hear any voice come out of me, just like almost like moaning and stuff. And then he said he turned to like wake me up, and as he was gonna do that, he heard a little girl crying on the side of the bed, but it wasn't me because I was moaning like almost in distress. And then he woke me up and he's like, what were you dreaming? And then I told him the story. And then he told me, well, I heard a little girl besides you, you know, but it was like the creepiest thing. And then maybe like 3 days ago, I had a dream, the same house here, that I was a younger version of me. I was maybe like 16. I woke up in the middle of the night to go get a glass of water, went to the kitchen, got a glass of water, and I seen my sliding door that the blind was halfway open. And for some reason, I went to close it and it has a little stick and the stick came off. And as the stick came off, somebody from behind me grabbed me, but this person was really tall. And I turned and I could see his face, but he almost had like a face, like like bones, like his face was bony, but almost as if he had a mask, like a wax mask over. It was weird. So I poked him with that stick I had, but he didn't make any noise or anything. And as I was poking him, he dragged me, like he just dragged me. And as he dragged me, because since I was a younger version of me, my mom was, you know, supposedly here. So I screamed and I screamed, Mom! And I woke up my husband by the scream. But it's just like these weird dreams I have. So I don't know if anybody can explain.
Well, the first one sounds like, you know, just a haunting. The second one, I don't know. Sounds like you might need some mugwort under your pillow or something.
And what do you recommend?
Mugwort.
Okay.
Maybe you can use some, I wouldn't necessarily say sage, because I know that a lot of people tend to have an issue with the usage of sage. So maybe like juniper, if you could burn some juniper. Salt the doors and windows.
Oh, God. That bad?
Oh, I mean, wouldn't hurt.
Mm-hmm. And that's not the only story. A dream that I've had. I've had worse dreams. Like, I can tell you this dream, and then you guys can bring me down just so I don't bother you guys anymore.
You're not bothering anybody. Don't worry about it.
I had this dream, and it was part 1, part 2, part 3. You know, those kind of dreams. So I had this dream that I was born here in the United States. I was born in California, and I've never been to a cemetery in Mexico. So I had this dream always that I went to the cemetery in Mexico, and I was walking with this woman, but she was my friend, but I couldn't see her face ever in the dream, but I knew she was my friend. And we would walk in the cemetery, and then they had big gates, and it was like almost like darkness, like it was almost like dark, not dark, but it was dark. And you could hear the wind blow, everything. This dream was so real. And we were walking towards the tombstone, and we had flowers, and then we would get down on our knees and we start praying, and we would put the flowers down, and all of a sudden we heard this like growling sound. It was just like this creepy sound. And as we turned around, we saw this lady dressed in a veil, in a black veil. She was almost like a corpse-like lady, and her dress was like long, and it her collar neck was like almost to, like, it was really high. It was just like this old dress, like it looked old, and she almost looked like dirty like. And when I saw her, I would run, and this person that was always with me, she would run another way. And that one time, that first dream, she grabbed me, and I could smell her, and it smelled almost like a corpse, like really nasty. And she grabbed me, and when she grabbed me, I woke up. But my clothes that I was wearing, my pajama, smelled just like that. And I washed it, and that smell would not go away. So I had to throw that pajama away. The next dream, it was maybe like 2 weeks later. It was the same thing. We would go inside, take the flowers, and as we were kneeling down to pray, we would hear the sound, and then I would run, and then I hid this time. I hid under this bush, and there was a church. I don't know why, but there was a church in the cemetery. And this thing was standing in front of the church, and it wouldn't let me go inside because I wanted to go in the church and hide, but it wouldn't let me. So then I woke up. Then the next time, it was like the third, part 3 or whatever, and it's the same thing. We walk in, kneel down, start praying. I don't want to make it too long. And then she comes out of nowhere, and you could hear her, like this weird sound she would make. And then that time I fell. And then she picked me up and turned me around so I could face her. And her face was like coming off. It was just weird. And then she looked at me and she goes, I'm grabbing you. She goes, this time I grabbed you and you're not getting away. And I looked at her and I said, this is just a dream. I said that, this is just a dream. This is just a dream. And she goes, no, it's not a dream. I'm going to show you this is not a dream. So then I wake up, and I always sleep with my light on because I'm always afraid because I have these nightmares. And I see her on the top of my ceiling. I swear to God, I see her on top of my ceiling. So I start screaming, and I'm pointing because my husband wakes up, and I'm pointing at the ceiling. But he said he didn't see her, that he only saw like a smoke go through the roof, like a smoke, like a black smoke go through. But he didn't see the lady, but I did, And that was the end of that never happened to me again, but those were the dreams I had.
Lodge Tale says another thing that you would be wise to do would be to burn tobacco and what was it, Lodge Tales? But yeah, it seems like most of the people are saying you probably should do a cleansing.
Okay.
Yeah, he said to burn the tobacco as offering and then, pray for it to go away.
Okay. Well, thank you guys.
Oh, wait, Evelyn.
Here.
So tobacco, we use that as an offering, even to those bad ones when they're bothering you. Say, for instance, say you're really caught up with alcohol, and you're trying to go away from it, but you're having a hard time, and that spirit that's with it is constantly bothering you, making it freely available to you all of a sudden, and all of these things that it's happening. You would offer it that tobacco and ask it to take pity on you. And it's just a pinch. You just go out somewhere alone, don't matter where you're at, and just put a pinch of it down onto the ground. You can bury it, whatever you want, poke a little hole in the ground and bury it. But you just offer it to that spirit. Whichever one's bothering you, that's a way to see if they'll take pity on you.
Okay.
But when it gets really bad and they're constantly bothering you in your dreams, or they're pushing you, or they're scratching you, or bothering your family, that's when I take cedar. And I smudge myself down with the cedar, and then I go and I cleanse the house, and then put barriers up after that. Barriers is the same thing. It's tobacco, put in all 4 corners of your house, and you're offering it to them to leave you alone. But cedar, as it was explained to me, it can actually burn the bad ones, right? Like I don't know how that makes sense, but it can burn those bad ones, so they have no choice but to leave. cedar's really, really powerful. That's what we use that one for, is for those really bad ones like that. Especially if they're in your dreams. That's when I bust out the cedar from being bothered like that. If you, like with me, I use so much of this stuff and smudge and all that and pray and, you know, in our way. I rarely get bothered by those things anymore. When I was younger and I was still following the ways of you know, mind-altering substances of all kind, it was easy for them to bother me, and it would happen a lot. But as I've gotten older, you know, I haven't been doing that stuff, 15 years or something now, maybe longer. But they don't bother me no more because I'm not open to that. When you're under those influences, you're open, wide open, and they can just mess with you. You're helpless. Smudge won't work. When you're under the influence, smudge don't work. So I would just say to offer something to them if it's bothering you and you don't, you know, obviously you don't like it. Yeah, just offer them, and whatever way you guys do, follow that. Whatever is your way. But I'm just explaining what we do. But if you needed to borrow something from another culture, I would offer you the cedar. Go get cedar and get it yourself. You know, because cedar is a tree that looks like a cat scratched at the base of its trunk or even all over. That's how it looks. It don't look like pine needles or nothing. It's got these little weird shapes to them. That's how cedar looks. And it looks like similar to juniper. They're really similar, but that's how their bark looks like. It's all scratched up by a cat and peeling off. So find that, and when you grab it, you offer tobacco to that spirit of that tree to take its life, that little bit of life that it's there in those leaves. You're exchanging that to help your life. So you honor that exchange of energy, I guess I'd say. So I would do something like that and try the cedar for yourself. If you're going to borrow from someone else's culture, I would suggest that.
Okay, thank you. I forgot to mention on my second dream that I told you guys that the thing grabbed me. When my husband woke me up, I couldn't move, but I could talk. It was weird. My body was just like tight, like really tight. And then I told my husband, move me, because I couldn't move. It was weird. And then I could move, like it was weird. But and that's.
You can also try to wear something around while you sleep. We were just discussing in the chat certain crystals. If you have something available, hematite, I find it very potent. It seems like it's very cheap, but having a hematite bracelet around you when you have blessed it, programmed it in a sense that, hey, like, you know how you would a rosary, you know, or a cross. This is actually natural rock from the earth, and it's a very anchoring rock. So sometimes having those underneath your pillow of where you sleep, or you wearing it to bed. I like, you know, the past sleepless nights I've been having too many intrusions, and even whether good or bad, people trying to talk to me. I have had my tourmaline on me, and I'm shutting things down because I just need to sleep, and I take a shot. But you know, that's another thing.
Well, thank you.
Of course, anything that helps. I hope you can come back and give us updates.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Give us an update on everything. And thank you so much for coming up.
Thank you. Bye.
Hello, Ali.
Hey, how's everybody?
We are good. We're having a wild night here.
Yeah, we jumped in a little late. It was kind of like getting some chores done. Started eating dinner, and then I was like, why am I eating dinner? Just ended up getting fruit, and that was good. Yeah, what I miss.
We've had a lot of guests tonight with a lot of good stories. Really good ones.
Nice. We got a line going. Let's go.
Yeah. Everybody tap the screen, send some hearts, get some people in here. We got Soup. Soup, you are up next.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good. How old are you?
I'm 18. I'm sorry, I sound so young.
You got a spooky story?
I wouldn't consider it spooky, but my aunt Amanda, she was 25 years old when she was murdered. And I recently just became a tattoo apprentice. And so my aunt actually used to tattoo. And recently, I had this dream about her, and I've never once dreamed about her. She was pretty tall, and this dream took place at my father's house. We was standing outside of my garage. She looked like she had gel in her hair. She wore this white t-shirt with black lettering on the side. And I can't remember, but she had this really soft voice. And I asked how she passed. And she told me in detail what had happened to her, but I couldn't remember. And one thing she mentioned before she said that what happened to her, she mentioned a Laffy Taffy. And so she was like, okay, I'm leaving. And I was like, okay, come pick me up sometime. Like, this was so weird. And so I gave her a hug, and the random numbers 1284 popped up. And so she left in this white car. Well, when I woke up, like, I forgot about it until the middle of the day. And so I asked my mom, I was like, did Amanda drive a white car? And she's like, oh yeah, she used to have this white Toyota. And I was like, oh, okay, that's weird. And so I asked if she liked Laffy Taffies, and she's like, oh yeah, that was her favorite snack. Like, banana Laffy Taffy was specifically her favorite flavor. And so, like, a couple of days went by, I didn't mention anything. And so I had called my Mimi, my grandma. I had called her, and I was like, yeah, I had this weird dream about Amanda. And I had told her about a Laffy Taffy, and she was like, you know what the weirdest thing is? There was a banana Laffy Taffy that was found in front of Amanda's remembrance photo. And I have a photo. I don't know how I can share it with you guys, but there was a banana Laffy Taffy sitting in front of her remembrance photo. It's not really spooky, but I figured that would be cool to share.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Panel, you guys have anything to say?
In the comments they're saying it sounds like she visited you, and it does seem that way. But yeah, that's a really neat story.
Yeah, it's so weird. She had passed when I was 2 years old, and she was a tattoo artist before she passed. And I recently just became a tattoo apprentice in February. And yeah, I had a dream after her. I've never had a dream of her. Never once really questioned her until I've had a dream about her. And she mentioned a Laffy Taffy, and out of nowhere, there was a banana Laffy Taffy sitting in front of her photo. It was really, really weird.
Yeah, for sure. That is odd, but it's really sweet though.
I really wish I could share the photo with you guys, but I don't know how. But it was I was pretty creeped out from it. I mean, it's pretty cool, but like I was really, really creeped out by it. And yeah, from my dream, it was just, she seemed really heartwarming, and, you know, I was 2 when she passed, so therefore I can't remember anything, but...
Yeah, you were visited. Sometimes it's a little awkward or weird when it comes from family members that you haven't met. For example, like, I have never really met some of my ancestors, like my direct grandfather, my dad's dad, right?
Yeah.
But I knew he loved me. In my most dire time of need, I kind of always felt his presence, like fully presence was there. And my like recent year, like more earlier years when I was a kid, you could feel and see their presence as if they are watching you. Right. Especially when you're carrying a lantern, like something important like being a tattoo artist could have been taboo earlier in your family. And you know, following to that kind of like makes her proud and wants you to succeed. So that's the biggest sign that, you know, you're not alone and they're watching you and they're with you.
Yeah, I'm really happy I had that dream recently, after I told my mama about my dream, my mama actually gave me some of her t-shirts. So I have some really cool band tees from her. But it was definitely the wildest thing I've ever experienced. I've never really had any other paranormal experiences, but just, it was so weird. A banana Laffy Taffy popped up in front of her photo.
I'd eat that banana Laffy Taffy.
My mama actually saved it. She kept it up.
You should eat one in remembrance of her.
I'm scared to try new things, guys. But I have been taking banana Laffy Taffies up to her grave, like almost every time I'm up there. But I wonder what the numbers 1284 mean. Like, I've looked it up and it says an angel number, but I don't know anything about that stuff.
Ew. It's a prophetic number. It's fortune almost. So I would just, look out for some good news coming your way. Something it's morely about success. I feel like the way you're talking about it could be towards academia. And, well, I mean, I'm hoping, and I think your aunt is hoping, that you become a very successful tattoo artist. You'll have lots of clients.
I really hope so. It was so weird. And I've never asked about her before, and she just randomly popped in my head one night. And it was the most realist thing I ever felt. And what was really odd about the dream is she had multiple tattoos. But in my dream, she was like no piercings, no tattoos, nothing. It was really, really odd. And she had this really, really soft voice. And she was apparently soft-spoken because I've, asked my mother. But, yeah, she was murdered. I'm sorry if that, says anything, wrong with the live. Nothing was ever done about it. This happened in 2008. She had this huge crack behind her right ear. They ruled it as an overdose, but the morning that she had passed around 1 a.m. They called the cops at 6 a.m., said that they went to bed with my aunt around 3 a.m., but she was already dead by then.
TikTok, just for educational purposes only. We are just talking about things for educational purposes only.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's sensitive, but that's definitely a word that we can't say up here. But yeah, we appreciate you so much for coming up and sharing that with us. And hopefully you hang out with us tonight, listen to some stories, and I'm going to try to get some more guests up, okay?
Okie dokie. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody tap the screen, send some likes. Let's let the AI bot know that we are good here, that there's no problem. Everybody got to be mindful of your language. We can't talk about any type of DR, UG stuff, nothing like that. We can't talk about that. Everybody tap, tap, tap. Send some hearts. That'll protect the live. And it'll also help get some people in here and get us back on the FYP. All right, we've got who's been waiting. I think you were here. Hello, welcome.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the first time I've ever done this, but I have a story. I'm not really too sure how much of it's gonna get censored because it does involve just maybe trigger words, but
yeah, just kind of be mindful and try to use code language, because we just hit a pretty bad word a minute ago. So TikTok is very sensitive. Yeah, I didn't know it did that. But yeah, we would love to hear it. So.
Okay. So 2 years ago, I was really getting into a lot of different occult stuff. And I had bought this book that deals a lot with necromancy, right? But again, I was just trying to learn more about it, yada, yada, yada. And so I started reading on it, and it, of course, a lot of it is like blood magic. And so it calls for you to like actually draw, you know, blood from like your body or whatever. And so I was like, well, let's give it a shot. And on one of the pages, it calls for you to bind yourself to the book, right? And I was kind of skeptical about it because, like, you know, I had done so much stuff in the past, and some of it had worked, some of it hadn't, and so really it was curiosity killed the cat. But I ended up just doing like a small scratch, I don't know, on the palm of my hand. And there was quite a lot that was coming out, but the point of it is to write your name to the book, bind yourself to the book or whatever. Again, I was really skeptical on it, but I was like, well, whatever, nothing's gonna happen, yada, yada, yada. And so a couple of days later, I kept having like really vivid dreams, and I started having sleep paralysis more often. I started having like just really vivid, dark dreams. And so one of the nights I was like asleep, I started dreaming about like, it was weird. I was like levitating within my own bed. It was like a form of astral projection, but not really. But I dreamt that I was like levitating, and it was very realistic. And I heard a voice that was talking to me, and it was telling me, this is the chant, it was like a prayer, it was a song or something. I can't remember it now, but I was writing it down in my dream because I was trying to remember it, right? And so I was like in between sleep and waking up, and I turned my head and I saw this lady dressed in white with black hair next to me. And I guess I got spooked, and so I started I don't know, like, I wouldn't say fighting with it, but like trying to push it away. And I don't recognize that lady. Up to today, I've never seen that lady, but I woke up and I was like very spooked. But I called my husband because at that time we were like sleeping in different houses. We were trying to get our house situated or whatever. And I called him and I told him like, this is what I just dreamt. And like, I've been reading this book and it has all this stuff. And like, I started talking about like Aztec rituals and like how, you know, they did blood sacrifices as well. And the book talked about it. And right when I was saying that, my fan just started spinning. Like it turned on by itself, like the ceiling fan. And it's never done that. It has like a control remote to it, but I looked over and like nothing was on it, nothing was moving it. And I got so spooked. I went over to that book that I had been reading. I ripped out that page that I had bound myself to. I ended up burning it. And like the energy with it, like in my room itself was just so heavy. I could not sleep that night, but it was just one of those things where like the whole nightmare thing, like the dreams I was having themselves were just very graphic. And like I never opened that book up again after that. I wanted to burn the whole thing, but I ended up just like unbinding myself from it. But I don't know what that was. But that was like the last time I ever messed around with necromancy. You guys were also talking about like an incubus, and I don't know if this is specifically like an incubus type of story, but we used to go to like ceremony in these like Mexican like small pueblos, and one of the nights that we stayed there, we got like hotel. It's like a mining town, right? So like an old mining town up in the mountains. We stayed in a hotel, and it's like old timey as hell. And there's these like candles that you're supposed to light every night in the hotels themselves. And I didn't know it at the time, but it's to keep the spirits away while you sleep. Again, I didn't know it, so I didn't bother lighting up the candle. I didn't even know it was there until the next day, and I told them what happened. But it was a very like sexually suggestive dream that I was having like very early in the morning in that room. And it was with this entity, and I don't know what kind of entity it was, but I could sense that it was dark. And it was like early dawn, and it was just, I heard whispering that woke me up. And then I heard like vigorous knocking on the door. And like I jerked up, and like I got like super faint, super lightheaded, but I tried to open the door and like nothing was there. But later on, I told like my friends that had gone on that trip with me, and they said, yeah, well, there's a lot of like ghost activity here. Like that's what the candles are for, because these, you know, ghosts, these entities, they visit your dreams. And this, since it's such a energetically like potent place, because, you know, allegedly that's where the sun died, and it was one of those, you know, sacred places. It's just very energetically charged, and like, especially mining towns, since there's always like a lot of slavery, a lot of like violence that happens in these towns. Like there's a lot of like, I guess, remorseful energies that are still there. But I wouldn't know if that's like an incubus type of story, but it was very uncomfortable, and that like psyched me the hell out. But after that, of course, I lit the candle, and it was a way better energy than like how it started off. But I guess that's my story.
Ooh, Galaxy.
Oh, Lodge Tales. Awesome. I don't know who he sent that to. Oh, yeah. Oh, cool. Very cool.
Thank you for sharing that story with us, though.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, indeed.
Alrighty, well, thank you for coming up. We appreciate you. I think she might have already been gone.
I'm sorry, did she have a question? I kind of lost track.
I thought maybe, but then I think she was trying to like get out of the thing. Oh, thank you, Lodge Tales. Oh my God.
Lodge Tales.
So much.
Wow.
Lodge Tales is the best.
He's trying to call the aliens to come here. It's a portal.
Showering us with gifts.
Yes, Lodge Tales is so awesome, guys. So cool. Okay, I believe Anderson has been here for a good long time, so we're going to get Anderson up and see what kind of story they have. Guys, tap the screen. We got about 50 minutes left in the show. Hello, welcome.
Hello.
We are good. How are you?
Pretty good. I live in an old farmhouse, and I see spirits. I know it might sound crazy, but yeah, I've seen spirits, and the neatest spirit I ever seen is an Indian spirit. I have a huge arrowhead collection that I find Indian artifacts here on my farm, and I've seen an Indian spirit. I thought that was pretty neat. But no, that's all I had to say. Is I see spirits.
Alrighty.
Clairvoyant.
Pardon?
Clairvoyant, visual, having supernatural sight, basically.
Yeah. It's weird. They look just like us. They even have clothes on and stuff like that. But I don't know who they are. I don't know the people who they are. I've never seen them, you know, before in human life, or you know what I mean?
Have you had any kind of interactions with them? Have you spoken or have any feelings?
I have had them say my name to my face, and 2 nights ago I had one lift me up off the couch. I fell asleep on the couch, and I had one lift me up off the couch, and all I did was catch his face. But no, I don't know how to speak to him. I've never spoken to him or anything like that, you know. I only see him for a couple seconds, you know. But many different ones. I've had him follow me home from movie theaters, places in town, you know. I've had him follow me home.
Oh yeah, you're kind of like me. You're kind of like a magnet for spirits. It's because you can see. Yeah, that's probably why it's also kind of random.
Yeah. I mean, it don't. As long as they don't do what they did the other night, and you know, like I said, that one lifted me straight up off the couch. That kind of scared me a little bit. But besides that, you know, they don't scare me now anymore, like they used to.
Well, I mean, that's a good thing. I would say fear is one way they can like take more power over you. But definitely try to, protect yourself. You know, get a little bit of candles, be respectful, but also, if you're feeling threatened, maybe, try going to a spiritual healer and see if they can kind of help you get some more closer answers.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
I agree with Ollie.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming up and sharing with us. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, guys, we got about 45 minutes, a little bit more than that left in the show tonight. Let's get some people in here. Everybody tap the screen. Also, real quick, got to throw out some plugs here. We got subscription to the channel. Gives you instant access to the Discord. We do all the crazy things at the Discord. You definitely want to come hang out with us there. We do like little mini streams and stuff. It's very fun, very entertaining. You also get access to the sub emotes. So if you like what we do here, it's a good way to support. Also, if you like horror stuff, be sure to give Chris a follow. Druid knows all sorts of cool things, like we were saying earlier. So definitely check out Druid and Ali. Hopefully you don't mind me sending people to your channel. I know sometimes people are like, oh no, don't do it. Some people have personal accounts, they don't want followers. But yeah, check out Ali. Ali does some cool stuff too.
Yeah, you come over. No problem whatsoever.
Yeah. And let's see, what else? What else is there, Chris? What else do I normally say? I don't even know. We want to hear your spooky story tonight. So 45 minutes left of the show. Come tell us your spooky story, the one that keeps you awake at night, the one that makes you look in your back seat when you're driving down a dark highway. And if you're anything like Chris, you might even throw a few punches.
Oh my gosh, I told you that in confidence.
I'm sorry. I just thought it was funny. All right. So it looks like we got some people.
Something there sounded interesting, but anyway.
Yeah. Hi, Cryptic.
Hello, welcome.
Hey, good evening, guys. Yep, I'm back. So, yeah, I guess it's to be spooky to some, but it's not really spooky to me. It's more like wholesome. So, since we're talking about, passing of folks lately, yeah, there's a common thing going on here tonight. But, yeah, my mother passed away back in, 2022, right? So, the night before she... Well, actually, the morning before she passed away, I was asleep, and and I woke up, and I'm just like, okay, why am I feeling sad? I'm feeling strange, whatever, right? And then, I felt like my mother. I knew that was her presence. And, I felt her, and I started breaking out in tears. And she was telling me, help me, right? She wanted me to help her, right? So it's like okay, I'm coming to help you, right? So like I grabbed like some crystals, like make sure I look up online, make sure I grabbed the right ones. And I went to a family friend, like, to grab like a crystal. Like I was trying to say, like, I think she was asking her to, like, at the time I was thinking she was asking me to help her, like get better, right? So then, like, like I brought the crystals, put them around her, I put like a necklace around her neck. And, like, like I just kind of like meditated around her, right? But she passed away that day, like around 7 something at night, right? But I'm thinking, like, maybe she was trying to tell me to help her pass on. That's what I'm thinking. So then there's another time, like this is about, I think this was sometime last year, right? And then, like, like I had a dream, like, about her, right? And she was doing fine. She seemed like she was happy in the other world, the afterlife. And she, like, she was happy. She was talking to me. We were, we were like, we were kind of like sliding around, like on the street, like in our downtown and stuff, right? She was happy. She was telling me that she's doing okay and all that. And like I woke up, like I was tears, like I was sad, but like, then her presence around again, she's like, I'm doing, like she's happy what I'm doing and all that, make sure I'm doing all right and all that. But like like those are like those 2 wholesome stories. So like I have one more. So like, like how like sometimes like, they say like if you're jamming to music, sometimes it connects you to a spirit or something, or like they say like you get connected to the spirits, like like feeling music, right? So like I was just jamming to some music, right? And like like I was vibing, I was really into the music, and then next thing I know, I saw Anubis. Like, I mean, like, not physically, but, like, I saw my mind's eye. I could tell it's from my mind's eye. And I'm like, okay, like, I have totally lost my mind. Like, I thought at that point, like, I totally lost my mind. But, like, he didn't come no harm or nothing. Nothing. He was just chilling cool. And, like, he waved, he said hi, he smiled at me. And, like, that was really it. I mean, I do sense him around quite a bit. I am a bit of a seer. I'm also a bit, clairsentient, like I feel stuff and all every once in a while, but I don't tell people anything really. And like sometimes I have interactions with like other spirits and other deities and stuff, right? But I keep it under wraps because I like, it's like, what? I'm not trying to, like track something I don't want. Or maybe because I'm just really good at hiding it. I don't really go around just go looking. They just kind of come to me, really. So that's what I wanted to share tonight. I hope I didn't bore you guys.
Not boring at all.
So you guys thought?
I was just thinking that Ollie and Druid may want to weigh in on this. This sounds a lot like their territory. Do you have anything?
I did, but my thoughts escaped me at the moment. It happens. I'm a little elevated, so, and hello, Emily. Yeah, go ahead, Ollie.
Well, what was the question? Was it,
I was just curious if you wanted to weigh in on it because it sounded like your territory, but I didn't know. I wanted to give you all the chance to talk if you wanted to.
Oh, well, no, I mean, Cryptic is very, she's very nice and wonderful, but yeah, I mean, it seems like, I just wanted to say a comment. I was just like, I really do apologize about the passing of your mom, and I hope her spirit is resting in peace.
Yeah, like she have come play tricks on me a couple times here and there, like she said she would. But yeah, like I'm definitely. Oh, and like who asked me a question? Oh, Cat Mama. I do like have some interesting cat stories too. I'm sure. Like, well, yeah, I've ran into about Set and Segment as well. But yeah, like well, I guess I could share just one more thing since Cat Mama said something. And like, I hope I don't take too much time. So like, I guess like when my mom was pregnant with me, right? I guess like wherever she went, she like cats would come around her all the time. Like they would just gravitate towards her. And I guess when my grandmother was picked up from work one day, like there were cats just surrounding her car and just looking at my mom. So that was pretty interesting. Like when she was pregnant with me. So yeah, like that's like an indicator of that. So I asked a friend about that. So yeah.
I have a story that actually is basically a gift from the goddess Bast. This was way back when I went to Egypt and visited family friends over there. There was a wedding happening. And I visited a temple of Bast in towards the desert area. Of course, it was a very spiritual, it was like a very, iconic site. It was, towards the middle kingdom. I went into the temple and I saw, I was just hanging out. I was just in awe of everything. And I saw this very, and I've only shared this story in my spiritual circles, the witch circles, but, I saw this, this cat. It was like a desert cat. I forgot the species, but it wasn't like a domestic cat. It was like a really odd sand colored, it was a lynx, of course, a desert lynx of something. And it was right there at the base of Bast, just looking out at me. And I just had this wind of I can smell the wind. I smelled sandalwood and something else, but it was a sweet scent. And it's the desert, so you get a little dusty. So I was like, okay. So I was just, stepping down the steps and I step on something. I'm barefoot at this time. I step on something very, very hard. And it kind of brings this shock from my right foot all the way to my head, this burst of energy. And and I fall at this point. I was like, dang, what is it? It was like a pointy, sharp piece of Libyan desert glass. It wasn't sharp. It was kind of blunt, but it looked like a little pyramid. It was really neat, but that was like a gift I felt. And I took it as an attachment, the mother is watching. And that is what Bast is. She is the divine energy of mother, nurture, all of that. So I just wanted to kind of share that with you as well, with all of you guys actually. And I still have that little piece right there on my altar.
Nice. That's nice.
Huh. And then my goddess, the only thing she's ever done to gift me was blow up a candle.
It may be something. The ash may be meaningful. Keep it.
She's an interesting dynamic to work with, needless to say.
Right. So let y'all know, I'm not a practitioner or anything, right? I just know I have gifts, and and they just they come to me every once in a while. I do feel stuff around me quite often. Sometimes I see them, sometimes I don't. So that's more just a feeling. Sometimes I get visions, stuff like that. But I'm going to let other people come up on the panel. Thank you again for having me up here. It's always appreciated to come up here and come here to listen to your guys' stories.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming up.
Yep, you're welcome.
We appreciate you. All right, guys, we got a full box. All right. Let's get Thick Boy Art up here.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
How are you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. I have a really good story. Well, a story about an experience I have with cleansing my old house. So before my grandmother had passed away, I was outside in my car, and I was just dealing with a lot because she was very sick, very ill, and it was just us two in the home. And I was her 24-hour carer, and I just went out to go, have some time for myself, and I was sitting in my car listening to music, and all of a sudden I heard a woman's voice come through, come through the speaker kind of, and shift the sound of the music. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just obviously exhausted. I maybe slept 2 to 4 hours a night, every single night. And I, was trying not to focus too heavy on it because my entire childhood, my entire life, I've been very susceptible to paranormal experiences. So, just out of sight, out of mind. And then all of a sudden, the voice boomed through my speakers, and she was saying, what was it? She was saying, just a bunch of really nasty things, like unalive yourself, you should just unalive yourself, and just being very, very nasty. And I couldn't see her in front of me, but I could see her as if I had traveled into a pitch black room and she was standing in front of me, and it was a woman with really dark, blackish brown hair, and she was wearing this long red dress, and she was just gazing at me while saying these nasty things, and she was walking towards me. So I just shut off my car, went inside, and was like, nope, not dealing with that. I'm not doing that. So after my grandmother had passed, I was experiencing a lot of just heaviness in the house. I kept smelling rotting, burning. I should mention, my grandmother did pass away in the house, and we're Latinos, so we believe that you have to open a window to be able to allow the spirit the freedom to cross. But we also believe that, death creates this portal. We're Latino and Native American. That death creates this portal for things to cross in and out. So considering her state, it was, the things that happened after that was just crazy. I couldn't eat for about 2 weeks. The smell would follow me into the grocery stores. It would just smell like a dead body. And it was really hard. So I finally told one of my friends who is Native American, and I was like, hey, I know you go to a medicine man out here in New Mexico, and out here in New Mexico to pick up supplies. So next time they had got me some special supplies to, help me cleanse my house. So it was me, my best friend, her boyfriend, and one of our other friends. And she was explaining to me all these things that we were doing. And I believe it was cedar, but I could be completely wrong. It's been almost 10 years since then. But she had put the cedar over my grandmother's urn, and it just started popping like crazy. We go in the room, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to step in first. I just want, out of respect for my grandmother's space, I want to step in first. So I did. And immediately it felt like something pushed me into the furthest, darkest corner of the room and was holding me there. and I was screaming at her. I was like, please, you need to do it. You need to help. Like, I was just freaking out, and I was like falling to the floor crying, and it just felt like I couldn't move, and like everything was just getting so dark. And we cleansed the space. It felt a little bit lighter, and then we went outside to go chill for a minute. And when she was on her way over to my house, it like randomly started raining. And I had checked the weather app, and there was like not really any information about it supposed to rain that day. And when we had gone outside to go take a breather, you could hear every single door in the house shut at the exact same time simultaneously. And a scream shot from inside of the house right over our heads to where you could feel the wind like brush over your hair. And it like shot out into the west side, and you could hear it just go. Like, it was a real scream that just shot out of my house out into who knows where, right? So we go in, we do a second cleansing, and she had this wooden device that she packed with some other herb or something. And when she had gotten into my grandmother's room again, the wooden device was so hot that she had dropped it on the floor, and you couldn't pick it up for a minute. So like we just kind of had to leave it until it cooled down. And we had to finish after that. And it did feel a little bit better for a while, but anytime anybody ever went to my house, especially in the furthest part of the backyard, because we lived on like a 1/4 acre lot, excuse me, they would always say that they would experience something like tapping on their car windows, or hearing my voice, hearing other people's voices. They would see children running around. I said the scream left my house. Oh, well, at least that's what it sounded like, because the way that it shot over our head was just really, like, it felt like it was coming. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's very... Paranormal things are very hard to explain. But, it was really weird. A lot of people would see shadows inside of the house, outside of the house. We had a lot of experience with mimics. I had a partner who would sleep and wake up and see me sitting up in the bed, shine his phone, and I'm laying down asleep. And I would see the same thing with him, except one time I looked at him and I was like, hey, like, what's going on? And he was like rubbing his hands in his face, so I couldn't see his face. And he like was moving his hands and slowly looking at me from the side, and his smile was from ear to ear. And he was just grinning at me, and I like felt on the bed, and he was laying down to sleep. Well, this thing was staring at me, smiling at me. And if you guys have any questions or anything, I'll take them, but I'll let other people speak as well.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for coming up. We appreciate you.
Of course. You guys have a good night.
Me too. All right, guys. We got a little less than 30 minutes left in the show tonight, and we have a ton of people we're going to try to get through.
Hi, Emily.
Hey, friend.
Hello, welcome.
Hi. Okay, so, spooky story. Have I ever told you this story, Druid, about my interaction with a Texas Walker?
No, you have not.
Okay, so, admittedly, a dumb friend roped me into dumb crap. So, you know where the ranch is, right? Texas Walker Ranch. I'm not actually going to say the name of these creatures because I just don't tend to. Hold on, I'll put a what it is in chat.
Pedestrian? Are you referencing a flesh pedestrian?
A flesh pedestrian, yes.
There you go.
Yeah. Anywho, so basically what happened is a friend of mine was in the film industry, or was in the film class in high school, and he was filming a horror movie about flesh pedestrians. And so to get that good, authentic first shot. No. Those, the ones that start with a W, are northeastern. The flesh pedestrians are southwestern.
Yeah.
But we don't live too far away from the flesh pedestrian ranch. So he wanted to film it at dusk. And he wanted me to be on board because I knew enough about spirits at the time. And I knew what we had to do in order to make sure that, you know, they wouldn't eat us. So, and what he wanted was he wanted to fake a near flesh pedestrian encounter. So he wanted me to try and find a Aztec death whistle in order to mimic the scream that usually emits from them. So some of the ground rules I laid before we went, I was like, we are not leaving after 11 o'clock. Do you hear me? Well, we're not staying past 11 o'clock. We are leaving almost right away. We will do it silently, and no one will cut themselves open or make sure that there's exposed blood to the air. They will smell it. I will pack juniper branches with me, one for every single one of you. We will bury them on their land. That way they have food. Flesh pedestrians are known to arrive in times of famine. So, day of the shoot comes. There is probably about, I want to say 10 people on crew and 5 people in cast, not including me and the other person that drove me out there. So, basically what happened was shoot went great. We set up well. They drove me out about 1.5 miles just to make the scream sound realistic. And, you know, took a couple tries because we had the walkie-talkies of blowing into the death whistle. I was not comfortable with this. I was roped. Let me remind you, I was roped into this. I was so roped into this. Just after dusk had passed, we were out there, and I blew the Aztec death whistle for the last time. And after about 2 moments of quiet, about like 5-8 seconds, I hear another scream off in the distance towards the west, about 5 miles off.
Ooh, no thank you.
my God. For real? No, no. Mm-mm.
And I immediately was like, nope. Nope, 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 nope.
Was he like, was this person your friend? Was he like, unhinged or like?
No, he was the kind of man that was like, do it for the bit.
Well,
he was a very do it for the bit man. Anyways, basically what happened was I get a walkie-talkie radio in, and he was like, that was amazing. How did you throw the whistle sound like that? And I told him, that wasn't me. And he goes, oh. And I said, you're starting to pack your shit, right? And he was like, I started packing it yesterday. And I said, good. I read the rights. I made sure that I planted them in front of us, and we walked backwards. So it was clean earth in front of the vans, making sure that it wasn't where anybody had stepped. And you bury all of the juniper branches so that way they can grow, because times of famine are hard. And I went back into the van. I hyped in the van. I slammed the door. We went off. We were out of the ranch. And I was grateful, right? I was so grateful. But then I started to see one of the tech members wrapping their thumb with gauze. And it looked red. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? What did you cut yourself on? And he goes, I don't know. And I'm like, nope, no. You're going to take this. And I put cedar in his hand. And I'm like, and you're going to take this. And I put white sage in his hand. And you are going to hotbox your bathroom while you bathe in salt, rosemary, and lemon. Do you understand me? Until the water gets cold.
Sounds like a good soup.
Mm-hmm, good soup. Good soup. And yeah, thankfully nothing ever followed him. He did say that before he took the bath, he did hear a distant scream. But he thought that he was hallucinating or being scared of it. If anybody has any questions about what I'm talking about, I will try to explain.
Do your best for the folks right here.
I mean, so here's the thing about flesh pedestrians and Texas walkers and the like. They're completely different from the W boys up in the Northeast. The ones in the Southwest, completely based on famine. Those are usually created during hard times. Okay, great.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of you got lucky.
Yeah. Oh, we got so lucky.
Sarah, how come all of these stories, they always involve a big truck, like a big SUV or a van? It's always this kind of stuff, isn't it? And somebody does something.
It's the one thing. It's the one thing that you never get when hey, let's go on an adventure. Okay, I'm going to bring my bug. No, let's bring the SUV. No.
Right.
I think I'm gonna name it right now. It's the Scooby-Doo effect.
Yeah, right there. She named it.
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo effect, because like I've had similar experiences like in Arlington, and it's always with a big SUV or a van, or I see this like probably like unalived lady from God knows when walking down the freeway I-45 South. like it's just always with a big group and one of these little like sketchy large cars. And I just love my Camry.
I love that. Oh, what's another story I have? Oh, I have a stupid story. I have a super stupid
story.
So it's a stupid story in the way that their parents were ignorant and didn't want to change the kitchen. So let me set the stage for you. If we're including windows, this kitchen had 7 entrances and exits and was painted haint blue. Three of the exits were windows. 2 of the exits were doors. Doors count as 2. Doors are usually entries and exits, while windows are usually just exits.
Well, not everybody is. What are their names? The house flippers or whatever.
Oh yeah, not everybody is the what is it? Extreme homes, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Anywho, no. The thing is that my friend was very spiritually sensitive, and so that kind of became a hub for spirits to get caught in. Because the entire kitchen was painted haint blue. And I mean the entire kitchen. And so having to make sure that that entire place was just protected to the nines was difficult.
That's a lot of quartz and salt.
And tourmaline.
And tourmaline.
Don't even get me started on the amount of tourmaline I used. The other one? Oh my gosh. I have a super funny boggle story. If you guys don't know what boggles are, they are a type of good neighbor that is, it's very attached to material things. Friend had a boggle.
I think they come from English folklore.
I think it's either English or Irish.
Because there's also like the bogey, the bogart.
I think it was the Bogart. Never mind. Okay. I know it started with a B. No, the dude, it made you do his dirty work. Hey, that's fair. There's a reason why we're not friends anymore. He's still in the film industry, but you know what? I kind of expect that out of the film industry. Anywho. So, friend gave away a copper kettle to another friend of hers. And this thing, so it's either called a boggle or a bogart. It doesn't matter. But, well, no, it does matter. Never mind. But the basic concept of this creature is that it is very attached to material things. These spirits will often show up in places that are cluttered and will often show up in, wild. But these things will often show up in places of very cluttered homes. And so, when this happened, when she gave away this copper pot, everything went loose. Everything went hectic. Pictures were pushing themselves off of shelves. She could not get a good night's rest if she tried. And just she woke up with like scratches on her arms, and she has no pets. like that sort of thing. And we figured out we just needed to give it something very starchy. So the thing with good neighbors is that you have to give them something starchy in order to help them calm down. It's either like oatmeal, like that sort of consistency, semi-sweet or very, very mildly sweet with starchiness. We set out our bowl of oatmeal and, slept for the night, and then woke up the next morning, and this little tiny ramekin of oatmeal had it looked to have like a spindly hand, looked like it raked through the oatmeal and then ran away. Did you give a demon a bowl of oatmeal? No, I gave a spirit, a good neighbor, a bowl of oatmeal. I gave a fae a bowl of oatmeal.
The she, usually I've seen where if you're trying to give offering to the she, it tends to be like honey and cream.
Yeah, very creamy, very starchy, very rich. So, yeah, it was so cute seeing the little ramekin, and then it looked like 4 spindly fingers just raked through and took a chunk and left.
Very interesting stories. We appreciate you coming up. And,
thanks so much. I'll see you later.
Yeah, thanks for sharing with us. All right, guys, it is that time of the night where we close up shop. But we will be back here tomorrow night, same time, same place, 11 p.m. Eastern. So be sure to follow me, turn on post notifications so that you get notified when I go live. Big Rich. I know. But it's getting late. Also, I have a new video just posted this evening. Appreciate if you guys go check it out. Check out my wonderful co-hosts here, all 3 of them. Give them a follow. Let's see, if you want, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and you get instant access to the Discord. We do lots of fun stuff over there. It's a good way to support, and also you get to be part of the community and hang out with us in between streams. So we will see you all tomorrow.
Wait,
same
Sarah.
time, same place. Yeah.
Put your head in the screen.
No. When people say that to me, I always move away cautiously.
Get your head over here really quick.
Fearfully. No, I don't want to put my head in. I don't want to put my head on the screen. God, Chris. What is it?
All right, hold on. Oh, it didn't work. Oh, there it is.
I really
a mustache on you. Oh, you got another one. Look at that.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. All right, we will see you all tomorrow night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night.
Tomorrow I'll have some updates and stories for y'all.
Sounds
good.